Alright, hi everyone, welcome to the second lecture of programming. So we typically finish chapter 1. It wasn't chapter 1, it was chapter 2. Chapter 1 was mostly about how to download the VS Code and all that stuff. So that wasn't really necessary. I'm using the Google Colab because the VS Code will not run properly on my laptop because it's extremely old. And so it's like the hardware inside is like fucked. You understand? It's like beyond working point. So the only option I have is Google Colab. So that's why you may see that the recordings, when you record, it may lag a little bit when you watch in full screen. So the best option you can do is like when you click on it, zoom out, like fully zoom out the website, and so when it goes into 25% or 15%, the video automatically will enlarge, so you can see it clearly. But that doesn't mean that there will be big changes when you watch on full screen. You can still see the lecture properly. Anyways, so let's move on to lists. So pretty sure you have done a little bit of lists back in high school probably. But simply lists is like, so if I have bananas, apples, put a comma here, always a comma. So this is something called syntax error, which should have been explained in the previous lecture, but you know what a syntax error is, right? So bananas, apples, oranges, cherries. So bananas, apples, oranges, cherries, I don't know, kiwis. If I were to print lists, it's gonna output the list itself. Then if I were to, modify, so there are two things. If I have tuples, right, it's gonna output tuples. One thing to remember is that you cannot change tuples, so you cannot modify the elements that are inside tuples. So let's say sorry about that. So if I were to have like tuples dot append bananas, so you're gonna get that, right? The only reason you're gonna get that is because, so if I were to write tuples again, you can already tell it's not going to work. But even if I write tuples after this, so it's going to print the same thing but not the appended one, because tuples you cannot modify them. So tuples are like permanent, so you cannot modify them. However, unlike the lists, you can modify them. Tuples, you cannot modify them. So you cannot remove, you cannot modify, you cannot insert, you cannot append any elements. But lists, you can. So if I were to, let's say replace, so let's say if you want to append, so lists dot append cherries, no, not cherries, let's say peach. And if I print lists, so append only works automatically at the very last position, but for insert, you have to specify which position. So that only works in insert, that doesn't work in append. So you have lists dot insert, let's say 1, actually 2, and let's replace oranges with I don't know, leaf. Simple example. And then if I were to print lists, it's going to replace appended, inserted. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do the replacement in a second. So if I have lists of 2, I'm going to have leaves. Now if I have lists, so I have bananas, apples, leaves, but then I didn't remove leaves. So if I have 3, I can do it for 3 instead, which is oranges in this case. So I'm going to have bananas, apples, leaves, cherries, kiwis, peach. So it just removes it, right? So replaces it. And then we have lists dot pop So pop always removes the last bit, so it shows that which element has been removed. So now if I print lists, so it's going to, so lists dot pop will show which element has been removed, so it's always the last element. And lists, after when you show the updated removing or whatever, then when you print lists again, it's going to show that the last element has been removed. Then we have lists dot remove apples. So apples has been removed, right? So pretty simple. Yeah, that's it from the chapter lists. Really not much. Like I said, these are easy explanation. Big things are coming up, but we have already finished 2 lectures. I don't know if there is any more actually. Yeah, append, pop, insert, sort. You can also sort them out. So if you can sort them out. If you sort them out, you'll have in terms of, actually we can do it. So if I have not this. So if I have, let's say, lists dot sort. So you get, I mean, usually in sort you haven't stated anything. So if I were to print list, it's going to do based on the first alphabet letters. So it's going to have apples, bananas, cherries. So apples is not here, so bananas, cherries, kiwis, leaves, and leaves, right? So it's in alphabet letters. Yeah, I guess pretty much that's it. So you can also do it in reverse. Reverse is equal to true, so indicating that you're going to go from back to front. So you can do that. And yeah, I guess that's it. And there's length of list. So if I were to do length of lists, so if I do length of lists, that is after the removing and all that stuff. So you're going to have 5 elements, right? So yeah, that's it from lists. If there is any other thing that I'm missing, you can feel free to comment. Feel free to say which one I have missed, and surely I'm going to explain them. But pretty much these are the easy stuff.